Right. That's a very big brief, but I'll definitely try and look at what experiences we've had and answer your first question, which is, why am I so happy with what's happening around us today? And why am I so pleased and satisfied with working with young people in India? One of the big reasons why it is such a great time to be working on citizenship is because today the young people in this country are listening, yeah? And they want to ask questions. What I find absolutely phenomenal, let's say in the last 20 years, when I was a student of St. Xavier's College in Mumbai, if you ever thought or said anything about government and what you can do or what you know, we all had discussions over chai, that's quite fine. But if you ever thought about how can I get involved in this, yeah, there was complete silence around most of these discussions. People, young people, even at that time I was 20, there was a very high sense of disinterest. Yeah? And this disinterest is what kills a nation. What I find today is that the young people are interested. Yeah? Interested and are saying, listen to us. They're saying, I have a point of view. Whatever it may be, I have a point of view, and I'm going to tell you my point of view, and I want you, and in this case, let's say the state, I want you to listen to me. So whenever you look around you and there's an issue that comes up, it could be Palghar, it could be, cartoons, it could be just about anything, you find a number of forums abuzz with opinions. Now, to me, that is a fantastic thing, because people are taking their time out to make their opinions heard. Yeah? They are shocked, they are shamed, they are disgusted with what happens in Parliament, for instance. They are angry. But these are fantastic emotions. These are emotions. Yeah? You look at it 20 years back, you might just have a wall of nothing. Yeah? So I am very happy today to be where I am, because I find that we are talking. We are asking ourselves, and that is, to me, the promise of Young India. There is also many examples of, just the other day, we had a young person, 18 years old, and he was very interested in looking at the right to education and seeing how it can be implemented in his basti. Yeah? This is Kailash, and he worked with us looking at how RTI could be used, how is it that complaints can be filed, and to me this is wonderful, because here where it affects you personally, the young people are interested in taking action. Yeah? So when you look at this scenario and you compare it to the time that I entered the development sector, and I was saying to our colleagues here that it was a very difficult thing for me. I came from a Sindhi family, expected to, sort of earn money, and that's a great thing to do. But if I had to make a choice that was different, it was extremely difficult for me to make my family understand and move into the development sector. Also difficult because in your friend circle, in your peer group, I mean, when I passed out of SP Jain, I was the only one amongst 120 students who decided to take a job in the social sector. And when you have no one with you, it's a very lonely feeling. Yeah? Coming from that to finding people like you wanting to listen, to engage, is fantastic. Yeah? So I get very excited about working with you and others in this country now. What is it that is needed in terms of leadership? Yeah? And I love the word you've used, citizen leadership. It is not often that we hear this word. We hear of servant leadership, we hear of leadership in the corporate sector, but citizen leadership is something that needs to be looked at a little bit more. And that is the demonstration, I think, of what we need to be achieving moving forward. If we are looking to achieve the first scenario, which is of advancement, growth, progress, then what we need to do, all of us, is to recognize the citizen leadership that we have within us. And one of the most important, there are three things to my mind that's critical for us to be able to do that. One is very simply knowledge. Knowledge of what does it mean to be a citizen. What is it that I'm expected to do? What is it that I have to know to be able to do that? There's an ad, I think you may all have seen it and applauded, I think, the Jago Re ad, which was when a person asked I think he was an MLA or MP, what are your qualifications to be this? Do you remember this ad? Yeah? And this guy is looking a little stumped, and we all say, that's how, we should be asking him, what is his qualification? I think we need to turn it around a bit, and ask ourselves, how are we qualified to be citizens of this country? The Constitution says you need to be born here, or one of your parents need to be born here. I think that's just not enough. So yes, you can be an MLA how you have been. To be a citizen of this country and to achieve the scenario that we want, the first scenario, we've got to be equipped with knowledge to do much more than what we are doing today. I have a number of times people coming up to me, 25-year-olds, 28-year-olds, saying, what exactly is the difference between an MLA, an MP, a corporator, a councillor? What exactly do these people do? Okay? Now, to my mind, this kind of civic, political, and governance illiteracy of young people today is simply not what we can afford as a nation. If we want a nation that is equipped, then we've got to give ourselves that time to equip ourselves with the knowledge that's needed about governance. So my whole demand, actually, and when we talk to people, is take every opportunity of understanding how things are going to work. What is the structure of the state? What is required then if you have a simple problem of a road with potholes? What is required of you to do? What can you do? What is it that is equipped? What is the equipment available for you to do that? I think, on the other hand, for instance, in 9th standard, civics today is 20 marks. We probably rattoed it. We all know this word. Slept through it, rattoed it, sort of vomited whatever there was, and then that's it. You pass it. But that doesn't equip you to be the citizen of this country. And so what we need then is, even at higher levels, looking at what is civic education. And I encourage every young person to take opportunities to be able to move forward on that. The second is in terms of ownership. When you say we, the people of India, give to ourselves this constitution, it's an ownership document. It means that you and I own this nation. But at the moment, in any corporation, if you are to look at something and you have stakeholders or shareholders not asking a single question to the board, or employing people and saying, पता है क्या करना? 5 साल बाद आके मुझे बताना कि आपने क्या किया है. You employ people, you don't monitor them, you do not look at how they can be fed back, then you have a corporation which doesn't work to achieve the first scenario. You'll probably just stumble along. So the other big thing about young people is take this ownership. It's yours. And then the responsibility that comes with it is also what we need to go forward. If we've co-created what we see as problems, we will co-create the solution as well. Yeah? And the third and the last thing I think is needed for the effective leadership that we need to demonstrate, and that is very simply daily practice. Leadership is about practice. And citizenship is certainly not a 9-to-5 job. Citizenship is an everyday, every moment practice. You practice it when you get into your car and put the seat belt. You practice it when you stop at a red signal. You practice it when, in case you have gone ahead on a red signal and you are penalized, you pay the penalty. That is the practice of citizenship. Yeah? And to my mind, if we understand that as a daily practice, and if we look at our values as daily practice, then we would be moving towards the leadership that all of us needs to demonstrate to get this country into the first scenario. Okay? Thank you very much for listening.